Right, I think we should get going. Yeah, let's do this. All right. Hi, welcome so much to the webinar. We're just all set up. We're ready to go. We're actually doing something brand new. This setup is new for us. So fingers crossed that the technology is not going to fail and the broadband is good enough so that this will continue with no break in communication. So fingers crossed, and thank you so much for joining us. So if you want to go ahead right now and type into the so-called chat box, then by all means do so. Let me know that you're here, that I'm not actually talking to nobody right now at this point. That would be amazing. So let me know that you're there. You can hear me, you can see me, you can see the screen around me, hear my voice. Let me know. That would be amazing. So thank you so much. That's all coming in. So thank you so much to Margaret. Thank you, Adil. Heather says she can hear me fine. Gary also. And Fernando. And Nazar says yes. Oh, okay, good coming in. Matties, did I say that right? Matties, thank you so much for saying that. Brass Farthing, I'm guessing that's a username of some description. Brian and Graham. And Janice says, okay, great, fantastic. Looks like we are all good. So we are going to get started right now. So thank you and welcome to this webinar, which of course you can see is entitled Message for Millions, how just one serve and sell business presentation has made me consistently over £1 million per year, and ultimately how you can do exactly the same, but also get access to my world, my promoters, and potentially also speak on my big stage as well. So let's get started. I've got loads of slides. Do make plenty of notes as you go through if you want to take photographs of slides, etc. Look, that's completely up to you. This is your content as much as it is mine. All right, so who's this for? So firstly, this is for you if you are a business owner right now. So you have a business and you sell something, whether that's a service or a product, then this is perfectly designed for you. If you're an entrepreneur, sort of a serial business owner, if you will, perhaps you don't have a team of people to work for you, but you're entrepreneurial in your mindset. You're a startup business where, well, you're getting started, you've got something to sell, but you haven't brought it to market yet. You're an influencer or want to be an influencer of some description using social media. You're a coach right now, or maybe a consultant, a mentor, an advisor, someone in that advice sharing business. You've got good knowledge, good know-how, good experience you want to share. You're an intrapreneur, which it's a funny word really, but what it means is that you are working for a company, but you're not the owner of that company, but you're there really to drive more revenue for that business. You almost treat it as if it was your business. You're an online marketer, so you sell stuff online in all sorts of different formats. You are already a speaker, trainer of some description, working one-to-many. You're an author, you've written a book, perhaps self-published, maybe actually even published in itself. Or you are just someone who is a talented expert. You've made distinctions, you have good knowledge, good know-how, good experience. You're a specialist in a particular area, but maybe you're not getting rewarded as you should do or could do for the talent, the experience and expertise that you have. Or maybe you're just someone that has a real good story that you want to share, meaning you're someone that's been through challenging times that you've overcome, and you now want to do something to share that story and give back to others in some way, shape or form so they can avoid the things you went through, or maybe if they're in that situation, you can help them get out of that situation. So if that's you, fantastic. Now look, really this is all about not just speaking for the sake of speaking, because I believe this, that speakers themselves don't really make lots of money. It's kind of business people who speak that make money. So we want to design your talks in a way that wins you more visibility, that leads to more business. Now, don't worry if you don't yet have a business, because by the time we're done here, you'll know exactly what your business should be if you don't currently have one. Or maybe you have one, this will be a new one, or maybe you have one already and this will accelerate the results that you're currently getting in the business right now. So everybody, remember this, everybody has to start out at the beginning unknown, meaning you're not well known by a large number of people. Now that's a bit unfair because you probably are at least known to the people you've worked with. But what we want to happen is for you to be known by people who have not worked with you yet. They don't have trust with you yet. They haven't seen you before. That's who we want to ultimately know you. For example, if I say to you running shoe, well, you immediately think of the company Nike, even though you might not have bought their products before. So what we want to happen is when somebody has a problem that you know how to solve, if somebody has an issue that you've overcome and you have an answer to, we want them to immediately start thinking of you, even though they've never met you before. Does that make sense? So that's what we're going to show you to do. So you are right now unknown, and as an unknown person in business, it's kind of tough. It's not so easy. You've got to go out there hunting for business, cap in hand, and the power's not really in your hands. It's kind of in the client's hands, and you end up negotiating, dropping your price. It's not a good thing. So unknown is where we don't want to ultimately stay. The next level up is we want to be seen and known as a specialist in a particular area. So whatever the area of speciality is for you, we want to starting to get people knowing that that's what you stand for, that's what you're about. So when they have that problem, they start thinking of you. When that happens, your income's probably going to double between 50 and say £100,000. But that is not where this webinar and this web class wants to take you. We want to go further than that, because at 50 to 100 grand, it's a nice number. When we take cost into consideration, everything else, it's not a massive amount of income. So here's where we want to go next. The big one we want to get to is this word. It's called authority. Authority. Now, what does that word tend to imply, authority? Well, it doesn't mean you're just a specialist. You're the authority in that area. Now, the first 6 letters of the word authority is 6 letters, isn't it? It's 6 letters. The word authority spells the word author. Now, that might lead to the belief you have to then author a book. Not so. There's actually something else you need to author that can be done in about 1 to 2 days to create it. It will make you an instant authority when you do. I'm going to talk about that in this training right on this web class. So look out for that. Now, as an authority, your income is going to jump between 100,000 to about 1 million, which is amazing. Obviously, a big change. So that change hopefully is coming for you, as it obviously did for me back in the day. The next level up, though, because there are 2 levels more, is a level called micro celebrity. And that starts to get a bit exciting potentially. So what does that word even mean, micro celebrity? Well, it means you're not a celebrity, like in your own right. You're not famous for, 50 million people. You're probably famous for about 5 or 10,000 people, because you're a celebrity within your area of speciality. Not just an authority, a celebrity. You are known so much within that field of expertise. So if you consider what the kind of things that would happen if you're a micro celebrity, you've probably trained other people in that industry now. Other people look up to you. You've been copied. You've created fans and probably non-fans as well. So you're probably getting people talking rubbish about you as well. That's a good thing, because that tells us you're starting to make waves in the marketplace as a micro celebrity. Now remember, not everyone was loved by everyone anyway. And so you have to disconnect the need to be validated by other people when you get to that level of status, for sure. Now, as a micro celebrity, you can expect your income to be between 1 and 10 million. So for complete transparency, that is where my business sits. Right, pretty much smack bang in the middle of that income range is where my little old business doing nicely well is where that sits. The next level up from that is a level you might not wish to ultimately obtain, but it is one that might happen anyway. And that is for you to be a celebrity in your own right. So now you're no longer just a micro celebrity. You're known outside of your industry now, even though your celebrity status didn't come from you being a Hollywood actor or this breakthrough movie. It happened because you served many, many people with your message, with your service, by serving people with your knowledge, know-how, and experience, but over time, you became a celebrity in your own right. As a celebrity, because just so much more magnified, again, income is 10 million plus. So in this web class training, we're going to be aiming for somewhere between authority and micro celebrity status. I can't suggest to you that I can take you to celebrity status because I haven't made it to that level myself. But authority, micro celebrity, yep, I've got your back. I know exactly where to take you. So let's look at how all this stuff kind of works. Now, remember, when I'm talking about me as a micro celebrity, look, today I am so fortunate to have had some incredible breakthrough experience. I remember back in 2009 speaking here at the London O2 Arena, which is pretty much one of the biggest arenas in Europe. And I've seen loads of artists play there, the big artists, the Coldplays of this world, etc., and comedians, Michael McIntyre. And I've played the same gig. That's actually a picture of me, that little old me just there. Yeah, that's me on the stage. And that was about 10,000 plus people there, all coming to hear my message, to hear me speak. And remember, I just started out like everybody else, like as a nobody. And yet I was still able to achieve that. In addition to that, I've also had the opportunity to speak around the world also alongside some other incredible people. This is Steve Wozniak. He's the co-founder of Apple, if you remember, with Steve Jobs. He was the guy that actually really was the technician, if you like, behind Apple originally. So I've had the pleasure of presenting alongside him. That was an amazing breakthrough experience. I presented alongside Tony Robbins, one of my original mentors, which was crazy. And I've done that about 8 times in different countries around the world now. And again, I'm just little old me, I'm nobody special. And people like Sir Richard Branson as well, that I also had the opportunity to speak alongside and meet personally. Incredible. But remember, I've also written a Sunday Times best-selling book, which I find pretty incredible because I never passed English. I didn't get any qualifications in English. There was always red marks all over my books and my work. But ultimately, I was able to write a Sunday Times best-selling book. Actually, it only took me 36 hours to write that book in its entirety. And I'm going to share with you how you can do exactly the same in this web class training as well. I'm also the creator of the Public Speakers University. I'm extraordinarily proud of that. A great incubator for world-class presenters and speakers and trainers. And also the Professional Speakers Academy, which is my mentoring group, a very exclusive group of people that I mentor as well. I'm very proud of all those things. But you've got to remember that it wasn't always like this for me. I wasn't just born into being a speaker. In fact, truth be known, I'm a bit of an introvert. I spend most of the time thinking in my head and playing small. That's my nature, to pull back. But as a result of the things I've done, I've been able to achieve those results. But, to take you back where this all kind of got going, at one moment in my life where I was in a relationship that I was struggling terribly because my partner, she'd had some big things happen in her past way before I was on the scene, and she tried to go to the court about it, big court case. But ultimately, even though winning the case, she broke down emotionally and became very depressed. And I didn't know what to do. I was stuck. I found that love wasn't enough. I was all out. We had 3 young children at this time. And I didn't know what I know now. And I was just desperate, really desperate. And after 6 weeks of her being admitted to a private hospital and her literally going crazy in there, and it wasn't working, taking all sorts of antidepressants, I was literally didn't know what to do. I thought, I'm lost. I'm struggling. I came home late one night, wasn't sleeping too good, switched on the television. And there on the television, I came across an infomercial on late night TV from somebody you may already know. And I've already mentioned already, his name is Tony Robbins. And I was immediately attracted to this. And I called the company up and actually ended up going to his live seminars. I was convinced that the live seminars will be a great way for me to restore my sense of being lost, but also my partner as well. And so I went there, and as luck would have it, would you believe, 5,000 plus people in this room, he ended up choosing my partner to work with one-on-one, doing a live intervention, and literally changed her life in this. And I thought, wow, this is incredible. This whole kind of advice sharing world, this industry, this seminar, these events, the workshops, and this, I just didn't know it existed. And this guy was like this, well, I guess we would call him a celebrity. It seemed to be the case. There were thousands of people there. I'd never heard of him before. But that's the point. He wasn't a celebrity. He was a micro celebrity in that sort of personal development mindset kind of world, which I wasn't in at that point. So I had no notion who he was. But yet there are people who literally adored him. And I was about to become one because, well, he shifted our lives. I remember thinking to myself at the time, wow, this is amazing. Wow, here's all these people. And I'd had the experience of going through this. And I went, wow, what must it be like to be him? What must it be like to have knowledge and know-how and want to share that with other people? And I thought, well, yeah, I'd like to do that. But then, the other voice kicks in, doesn't it? It says, but you can't do that. You can't be like him. I mean, look at him. He's like 6'7". He's a giant. Now look at you, 5'7". His teeth are bigger than you. So frankly, I thought it's not going to work. But ultimately, I did begin. I made a decision that, I came back and I decided I was going to do it. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what I was going to teach. I just had this desire to want to be on stage. I don't know why as an introvert, but I just wanted to do it. So I started teaching motivational mindset type of content. I borrowed loads of somebody else's content, a bit here, a bit there, put my own presentation together, started running some of my own events right near my house. It was actually in London, but it was very small when it began. And you'll begin small if you do this as well. Everyone begins small. Like I remember the first, that's the Tony Robbins event I went to, but I gave it a go. This is some of my first events I ran. I had I think it was 15 people in the room, and I loved it. I'm not sure they did though, because I was hopefully trying to sell them into them hiring me as a coach, if that makes sense. But nobody hired me as their coach. They all loved, I think they loved the training, but I didn't have the magic formula. I didn't know what I was doing. I realized now I was doing all the wrong things that wouldn't lead people to buy from me, my coaching and my consultancy, because I was doing it all wrong. I didn't know why. The audience gave me feedback by leaving, but I didn't know what it was I needed to change. But because I pursued it, because I kept on going, the events got a little bit bigger, and my conversion started to improve a little bit as well. So again, a bit of an old photograph there, but again, that's events slightly bigger, and ultimately trying to get people into the next thing I wanted them to get from me, which is ultimately to an advanced training or my coaching and consultancy. And it started well. I was converting a little bit better. It was starting to show some signs, but I still had so much to learn because I didn't know what I learned today. And then the events got bigger again, and my conversions got better and better and better. And I kind of figured out ultimately like a magic formula to this. And I've been teaching this now for over 17 years, this sort of magic formula. I've got so many other people that have followed this same magic formula. For me, as a result of that, my events got bigger because the magic formula also includes, how do you get people to want to, come along? How do you get people to come and hear you and see you speak? So that's one of my events there. And the event's got really big. So this is me speaking, I think it's about 6,000 or 7,000 people. This is me, again, speaking, I think that's 7,000 plus people. Little old me, they can actually see me on the screen just about there on that stage. But most people are obviously watching the big screens there because it's just such a big show. Your shows aren't going to be this big in the beginning. They're going to be small like mine were, but you'll start small and ultimately you'll scale bigger as you move forward. This is me again, another huge event. I don't even sure where that event actually is. I think that was me in Amsterdam, I think. I'm going to Amsterdam again soon, actually. This event here is alongside Robert Kiyosaki. So I started to present alongside these other big named keynote type speakers. This is a guy, actually, if you don't know, that wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And that's the event where we spoke together in Dubai. How would you like to become an international speaker as well? That'd be pretty cool, wouldn't it? This is me, again, speaking 7,000 plus people. That's, again, alongside Tony Robbins. That was the one I spoke along with Steve Wozniak in South Africa. This gentleman is a guy called Nick Vujicic. He's got no arms and no legs, but he's an incredible influencer because he teaches how to, overcome adversity. This is actually my daughter, my arm's Amelia. I think she's probably at 3 there, but she's considerably older now. This is me with Sir Richard Branson in London. Again, I think the audience about 10,000. But here's the point I want you to get. This is not just me, because I've also very carefully over the last 17 years selected and trained people to do the same that I've done as well. Excuse me, I have to burp. There we go, better. Sorry about that. And so I did. And this is just some recent examples. This is Gemma Sharple. She goes, so I did it. Completed my first event. This was a 2-day free event. So again, she's offering a free event like I do often as well. £28,550 in sales, about 22,000 in profit for a first ever event. How about that? 2 days, you made 20,000. That's a pretty good. I mean, it's getting on close to the average salary in the UK, and in 2 days, that's incredible. Some bigger results. This Samuel leads in the last 6 days. Did 2 events, 400 people registered, 327 showed up, 61 people signed up for what he was offering them, 205,000 generating sales in 6 days. So that's obviously well over the average UK yearly income in just 6 days. In fact, it's probably about 10 times more than the yearly income. Now, our results, I have to say, are not typical, and I'm not going to guarantee results because, look, I do not know you personally yet. I don't know your level of motivation, desire, commitment, and whether you're going to implement this advice anyway, because the information is going to be there, but there's the implementation that's everything. But I do want to point out that if you implement these ideas, there is no real reason why you couldn't get extraordinary results when you put this stuff into action. So ultimately, here's what we're going to be covering today in this web class. Part 1 is going to be how I 10x'd my income by selling my knowledge, my know-how, and my experience, rather than doing it the traditional way, but doing it the way I'm going to suggest in the next few moments. Part 2 is where I'll show you my 5-step battle-tested blueprint for structuring your presentation the way I structured mine that attracts people to learn from you, hire you, buy from you, and do business with you. And part 3 is I want to show you how I went from wannabe to an in-demand micro-celebrity getting paid £1 million plus, in my case it's only £5 million, per year from speaking around the world. So let's get started right away. Here we go. Part 1 is how I 10x my income by selling my knowledge, know-how, and experience rather than building a business the traditional way. All right, let's have a look at what the traditional way looks like. So traditionally, if you're selling a service rather than a product, if it's a product, you tend to have a shop. But if you're selling a service, you typically have to operate from premises, an office. I mean, you might have a home office, for example. So you've got that office-based thing. And, you know, you're sitting in the middle of nowhere, kind of having to hope that suddenly business will come to you. But it doesn't, does it? So what do you have to do? You have to go to business. So you've got to typically make phone calls. You've got to outreach, do stuff to find people. And that is normally a very hit and miss process. Here's why. Because, well, remember, not everyone is ready to buy when you're ready to sell. Does that make sense? So just does that make sense to you? Just type yes right now in the chat box if that makes sense to you. If not, everyone is ready to buy when you are ready to sell. Go ahead right now. My chat's over here on this side, so go ahead and let me know if you agree with it. Not everyone is ready to buy when you are ready to sell. Yes, 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 oh yes. Okay, so you agree with me that not everyone's ready to buy. Yeah, you can stop now, it's fine. I can see that you're all still listening, so that's fantastic, thank you. So ultimately, you will reach out to people the traditional way. Normally it's phone. The old way of doing it was phone, right? You make phone calls. Now you might try to find a list, buy a list, but ultimately you're outreaching to people to get them. And what you're typically trying to do is then make an appointment to either go out and see them, have a secondary follow-up phone call, and you know, you're doing all the selling on the phone, and half the time it's the unqualified people that really just want to get you off the phone, if that makes sense. So ultimately trying to get that final appointment, go out, visit them, and press the flesh, close the deal, etc. That is the traditional way of doing business. That is not how I do business, and from this moment on, hopefully it won't be the way that you do business either. Here's how I do it. I post on social media, so Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So I'm going to put posts out on Facebook, and those posts are going to do a couple of things. They're going to add value by giving a message of value, and potentially also invite those people thereafter to come to either a web class like this one, or indeed a live event of some kind as well. So it could be they come to one of my smaller events, one of my bigger events, could be a free event, could be a low paid event, could be a web class event exactly like this, and probably actually you're watching this potentially because you've actually followed this exact same sequence potentially. And then at that web class, at that one event. My goal is to ultimately upserve people to a higher level solution of some kind. Now, that could be one-to-one mentoring and coaching with me, which today is £20,000 for a day's of consultation or coaching. It could be one of my advanced programs of some kind. It might be somebody that works for me as a mentor that mentors you through that process. There's loads of different higher or tiered price servicing that people can get, but ultimately I'm upserving into something that is a higher price than low price or free, and that's the way I drive business. Now, what's the beauty of that? Number one is, well, it's scalable because it's all one-to-many, not one-to-one. Meaning the post that goes out is one person making a post, me, that goes out, but it works multiple times to multiple people. They come to a live event, there's multiple people there. So it's me, one small, little, very small by the way, Andy Harrington, but I'm being able to outreach to many people at the same time. And you're not going to come to the event or the web class unless you're qualified, because you're clearly interested in the subject. So I'm not wasting my energy and time by trying to convince someone who's never going to be convinced, if that makes sense. So I'm efficient with my time, if that makes sense. Plus, in the webcast, plus in the event, I'm adding loads of value, really serving in advance, because remember, this is called serve and sell. I'm giving you loads of value, which ultimately positions me, gets you to see I've got something of value, and you're way more likely to transact and buy something that helps you to implement something that will get you the result that you want as well. Okay, so how do you do this? Now, consider this. Whomever you are wanting to work with, you get paid for providing a solution. So you need to find people clearly who have a problem that you want to solve. Now, the good news about that is that's really easy to find those people today, because you're not just going to put ads in newspapers anymore. You don't have to do that stuff. You can target people better. More about that later. So ultimately, you're going to have to find people who have a need to move. So they're stuck at, let's say, point A. They want to be over here at point B. So they want to go from pain to gain, from problem to not problem. But ultimately, they've got to move from there to there. Now, what you've got to do ultimately is create a message and a solution that will bridge that gap. We want to bridge the gap between where they are and where they want to be instead. Does that make sense? So your solution must bridge that gap. Now, if you don't have a solution at the moment, here's what most people do when they get into business. The solution is ultimately made up on the spot, meaning they sit down with somebody and they end up customizing their advice to fit this person's particular problem. That's an issue, because you as the customizer, you see, you have to do all the work all the time and you have to customize every single solution. No. You create a one size fits everybody solution, which is really a templated framework or a methodology of how anybody who has a typical problem of that type can navigate themselves from there to where they want to be instead. That becomes scalable because it becomes productized. It means then, as a result of having that map, that blueprint, that model, that framework, that methodology, that recipe, if you want to consider it that way, firstly, it means you bake the cake the same way every single time, get great consistency, so no inconsistent results, which damages your reputation. But also it means that loads of people can implement that without you having to constantly keep customizing it all the time. Does that make sense? So, I want to know, you're with me. Does that make sense? That should be just in your head. That should be like transformative. Bloody hell, why haven't I thought of that before? Because what most people do is they sit down with somebody, do a one-to-one, the person starts telling what the problem are, and what comes out your mouth is ultimately something that's geared to what's come out of their mouth. But half the time what's coming out of mouth is similar every single time. So you should monetize that by putting that into a framework. Does that make sense? Then loads of people can access it rather than you have to do one-to-one consultations with clients. It is difficult to make money doing one-to-ones all the time. You're much better off making money one-to-many rather than one-to-one consultations, advice, mentoring, coaching, etc. You're much better off charging loads of money for that, but first give them a one-to-many experience before you later move on to the one-to-one type customized solution. Does that make sense? So if that makes sense, please let me know. I really need your feedback. I know I can't see you, but I'm trusting that you're there. So can you just type yes, 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 yes into the chat box if that makes sense to you right now? And that's kind of a light bulb moment. So let me know. Coming through. Okay, they're starting to go through. It's good. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Abdul says yes. Chase says yes. Broldley says yes. Fleeto says yes. Evelyn says yes. Janelle says yes. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, yes, 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 yes. I'm not going to read the names out now. Yes. Okay, fine. I'm good. Fantastic. Good. Okay, let's move on. So here is my recipe. My recipe for helping you go from where you are right now to where you want to be so that you get loads more sales, so that you become a micro celebrity in your niche. This is my formula. But remember, my formula is also a formula that anybody could implement once you know the formula. But it's not just me that I've created this for. Let's look at loads of other examples as well. This is Charlie Redding. Charlie used to be a financial advisor. Guess what he did? Went out to people, actually phone calls were made, went out to people, visited them, did an interview, and ultimately sold them some kind of pension plan, very limiting in how many people can help, and therefore the money he could make. So what do we do? We extracted from his genius in his head, we extracted the recipe. There it is, right there. There's the recipe. Looks good, doesn't it? That also enabled him to write a book around the subject so people can access the knowledge and know-how without him physically needing to be there. And all those end up wanting then to get him to give them that advice one-to-one. But he can charge loads more money for it, you see. So the book obviously can be bought online. The seminar, workshop, or the talk can implement this module that you can see here. And ultimately, that helped him win new business. This is Mark Bryant. This is Mark when he was actually given a terminal diagnosis of cancer, which he given 6 months to live. And Mark went on this journey. He went to the United States to a place called Hippocrates, and he figured out how to heal himself from the inside out. He had the cancer was actually in his bones, and he healed himself. This is Mark 4 years later, very much alive. Mark's had a massive career change now, by the way, so he no longer is in that business world he was in before, which he might say contributed to this. He now teaches exactly that, how to heal yourself from the inside out. He won awards, speaker awards at my Professional Speakers Academy. This is him actually doing a little tiny workshop in his own house, teaching people how to energy. He calls it the Energize Academy because he's teaching people how to create energetic food. So wherever your industry, there's a marketplace for it right now for you. You've got so much opportunity now. It's incredible. And here is, look, the Dine and Discover was a huge success. Put on events in a new thing for me, building confidence in myself, my new passion and mission. I believe that sprouts can help heal humans on the planet. So clearly that's the big thing, sprouting foods. My mission is to energize 1 million families in the UK with raw sprouting foods. He's off and running. Of course, we're extraordinarily proud of him as well. This is Cheryl. This is Cheryl's recipe for finding your why. And therefore, she wrote a book called Found Your Why. And she has a foundation called Find Your Why as well. And she runs retreats in Marrakesh every so often as well. And that's her presenting alongside Brian Tracy of the great, personal development industry. And that's actually an international speech done, I think, in the Czech Republic, as I remember. This is Sue Patel. Sue used to work in the HR department, just as an employee. But she has so much value that she could deliver to other organizations. She extracted herself from that situation. We helped her to create this framework here, this recipe, which is called the HR brand blueprint. And she goes out to organizations, does little mini presentations to corporations one-to-one. They hire her to then help them implement that advice into the business. And she makes a huge amount of money doing exactly that. In fact, here, this was quite a recent thing. She says, wow, I'm so grateful for the amazing opportunity to speak to 300 guests. How would you like to do that? I did a keynote speech about my book. There you go. The book was written off the back of that framework. Putting the Human Back into HR, that's the name of the book, at the first MAHRP HR Convention Expo in the Maldives. How about that? Certainly experiencing life as a speaker. All expenses were paid, flights, accommodation, food. Now a 3-day holiday at a beautiful resort. I feel so blessed. So fantastic. Look at that. How would you like to do something similar to that? This is Jalal. Jalal's a distributor of a product called Kangen Water. And unlike most people who are into network marketing, by the way, you might be into network marketing or might want to, where you sell a product and you're trying to get more people in your so-called downline, people that will also become distributors. What he does, he just does events. He doesn't do one-to-one stuff. He doesn't go to network meetings and interact with people one-to-one. He's running the network meeting. And so they're coming. He's delivering great value and obviously getting people to buy the product and also potentially become a distributor as well. In fact, last time I spoke to him, this model we helped create here, $4.2 million in sales in the last 2 years. Pretty incredible. And there he is. Yeah, again, small events. They're not massive. That's about 35 people. It doesn't need to be a big event to be highly profitable for you. This is Ross McKenzie. He's actually from Australia, one of our Australian university clients. And he, again, is into leadership. So we helped him create this leadership model. He recently spoke to an audience of 15,000 people in Dubai. This is Dee. Dee used to be a recruiter years ago. So she used to use the platform, which most recruiters have used in the past, is LinkedIn. It's changed a lot today. That she's become an expert in LinkedIn. So we helped to create the LinkedIn knowledge. So my question is, what knowledge, what know-how, what experience are you sitting on? How much value is sitting inside of your head right now that is not tapped into? You must have a passion of some kind, or you've overcome some kind of challenge, either out of inspiration or desperation. What if you were able to extract that and turn that into something you could sell? Literally, remember, it's a solution. All you're doing is you're selling a solution to other people, but it has to be put together like this. If it's just random stuff, it's not going to work because it doesn't give people that sense of security, knowledge and know-how that you've got something because you've got the roadmap. You've got to show them you've got the roadmap. Don't tell them you're going to help them. Show them how you're going to help them. And what are they paying for? Why do they come to hear you speak? Because what's going to happen is you're then going to break it down so they understand how to implement the solution that you've created. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you? Just say yes in the chat box again. I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to look over to my rights here, see if those yeses come in. Ultimately, you create a framework, and then you're going to dive deep into each part of these to teach that in more full, and then they get the nuances, the tactics of how to implement the changes they want to make, because you're selling a change. Any product, any service is there designed to implement a change of some kind, because people want to change from one thing to another. And your service, now positioned as knowledge and know-how, they can implement that right off the bat. And the more they want to pay, the more hand-holding you're prepared to give. Does that make sense? If they're prepared to less money, no problem. It can be one-to-many. They want to pay more money? Fine, one-to-one. But you're always going to help implement this exact same framework you've created. Now, this is Salif Jiao. Salif obviously used to play professional football for Liverpool. You maybe Liverpool supporter, actually maybe not be, but my son is. Ultimately, we helped Salif to create this champion maker because he now has a foundation, and he goes out to Africa because he's originally from Africa, of course, and he helps young people become leaders through this, and we're just so proud to be part of that as well. This is Davey McConaughey. This is Davey's framework. This is his way that he helps people because he's a personal trainer, but he used to get paid like 30 quid an hour. But now you want to hire Davey, it's 3,000. Why? Because he's got the package. Does that make sense? He's got the framework that nobody else has. Now, remember earlier I asked you that thing, I said to you that you want to become an authority. This makes you an instant authority. Here's why, because you're the person that created it. You're the creator of that. Once you become the creator of it, you're the author of it. Does that make sense? Now, off the back of that, you'll be able to write a book because there's the chapters of your book, isn't it? Motivation, mindset, metabolism. There's your chapters, then your other chapters inside. Then you dive deeper into it. There's subheadings in each chapter. That's how I wrote my book in 36 hours because I had the framework first. Does that make sense? I hope you are getting this. Are you getting it? I'm seeing loads of yes in the chat box. I hope you also stick with me. Okay, now, this is Spencer. This is his framework. This is his way. He's into sales training, so he created this. And again, this won't happen immediately. It will be small events you might get invited to first. I just got somebody call me yesterday to ask me to speak in Dubai for an event they've got coming up. And it's like they're willing to pay like 80,000. That didn't happen when I started, but it happens now. And in the beginning, Spencer would invite to big events. But look, here's him being invited to speak here in Dubai. That's incredible. I think that's like about 3,000 people. I mean, just imagine that. Imagine you being invited to speak in Dubai to share the knowledge and know-how. In this case, the knowledge and know-how about the framework he's created. Does that make sense? Think about the positioning, the visibility, and if I can teach you also, if I can also talk to you about how you can make an offer so that people would actually buy from you there and then, something that you've created. That could be an advanced training, it could be a mastermind program, it could be one-to-ones with you. But let's say as a result of that, you're going to charge, say, £2,000 for it rather than the 30 quid or 50 quid or 100 quid an hour. We're not going to go at that level. Just imagine how that could transform your life, transform your lifestyle, but also transform how you feel about yourself. The beliefs you'd have about yourself would go up, because you're serving so many more people. You're leaving a bigger footprint, maybe even leaving a bigger legacy. So yeah, if you have that desire, I'd like to help with that as well. This is Fiona. This is Fiona's framework around sales. She has the next generation sales. Again, all this didn't exist. It never existed before she joined our university program. And ultimately, right now, you are sitting on something like this. Now, you might think to yourself, no, I'm not. I'm nobody special. But I promise you, there is something inside of you that can be monetized that you're leaving on the table right now. This is Danny and Tamara. Danny and Tamara used to be midwives years ago, but they broke out from that and created their bump, birth, and baby blueprint. So now they've got this sort of alternative way for birthing to happen, like hypnobirthing, all that kind of stuff. And they created this. Look, it looks beautiful, doesn't it? Imagine if you had one of these. Just imagine how easy the conversation is to get involved and for someone to sign up to what you have. Because they look at it and think, wow, yeah, I want to know what that does. I want to implement those ideas. In fact, this is so good. Their recent client who signed up was Harry Kane. Well, Harry Kane's wife, actually. So therefore, you've got to understand this is something that could work for you as well. I love this story. This is James Dewan. James is an electrician. Well, he's no longer an electrician, actually, but he used to be an electrician, big contractor, working, 2 big clients, cancelled him, quite a bit of debt as a result of that, because they kind of cancelled, let him down, they went into administration. But ultimately, he then transitioned and started working with clients in houses, doing wiring people's houses, and rebuilt the business. And when I met him at an event, he was £180,000 in debt. But as a result of that, we created for him, he created from our advice, this Sparks Blueprint, which is his framework of how you can implement his advice to build a better local tradesman type business, which he had managed to do himself from the ground up. He then wrote the book, The Sparks Blueprint. It became an Amazon bestseller for his category. He then made a membership site, which is pre-recorded content of him delivering the value, but now in video format. So he makes £19,000 per month now just from the membership site. Now, clearly, he's retired now as an electrician. He no longer needs to do that. He runs events about every quarter for the people that have already purchased from him already. And then he offers at that, what? Well, one-to-one mentoring with him, obviously, to have better hand-holding. So, yeah, he's great. He also gets invited now to speak at other people's events. Here he is speaking at other events about his journey. He's also even been invited now to speak at the electricians' conferences that have once a year, which is amazing for him because there's all these target markets sitting in front because they're all electricians, let's face it, at electricians' conferences. And so good news is, wiped out the debt, all paid in full, and now he's a true micro celebrity in his niche. So my question is, how much knowledge and how much know-how are you sitting on? If you've been through challenges both in business, in life, in relationships, in your health, with parenting, anything to do with money, sales, marketing, any sort of overcoming adversity of any side, you've got to understand that what you went through caused you to find answers. And those answers, I'm telling you, are hugely valuable, but they're not going to be valuable if they sit inside of you, not being shared with other people. Does that make sense? All right, let's go on to part 2. Part 2 is my 5-step battle-tested blueprint for structuring a presentation that attracts people to learn from you, hire you as a consultant, as a mentor guide, buy from you, something you have to sell, or indeed just do business with you. So here's the framework. Let's go through it. So the first thing you've got to do is when people come to hear you speak, either on a web class like this or in, say, in a live event face-to-face where loads of people are there, first thing you've got to do is create impact, which means you'll have fantastic presentation skills. In the world today, visibility is kind of available for many people today, where it wasn't so much before. The difference now is quality. So I want you to be impactful. That doesn't mean you have to be like polished. I don't mean that. I'm clearly not very polished. I speak too fast. I get passionate. But I'd rather today be passionate than be perfect. Does that make sense? Because if you try to be perfect, you're trying to script it all out. It won't flow. You don't connect to source. And ultimately, you're just being too predictable. Does that make sense? So you don't want to be that. You want to be impactful. Now, when you're being impactful, you need presentation skills that allow you to get into flow. Get out of your head and get into flow, to get into the rhythm, to get into the zone. A sports person would consider it getting into the zone. So I want you to be that basketball player that doesn't have to look at the ball. I want you to be a basketball player that doesn't have to look at your message. Because if you're a presenter, you don't look at the message. You've got to look at the game. Does that make sense? You've got to be in the flow of the game. Because that is the skill. Now, you might think that's natural. It isn't. It can be taught. Remember, I was an introvert before I started doing this. And I made every mistake in the book, scripting it all out, writing it all out. Didn't work. Terrible. Wooden performances. Dreadful. And so I want to teach you how you can flow with your presentation. There are 6 core disciplines that help you to do that. I'm going to share those with you. Those are impact. You've got to ultimately manage your state, be yourself, get the right stance, tonality, eye contact, movement. These are all important aspects. Let me give you some examples of somebody who've done this. This lady here, her name is Althea. And Althea was an employee. She wasn't a business owner. She worked in a lawyering. She worked as a lawyer in a solicitor's, and yet she had a message because she'd been through lots of adversity in her own personal life, and so that was her real gift. That was her real thing. So we helped her craft that, and because her presence became so much better, her flow became so much better, then we was able to put her on stage here in South Africa alongside Sir Richard Branson, and a few months later alongside Tony Robbins. And that's within 5 months of getting involved in our university. So think about that for a moment. How good would it be if you could speak alongside somebody like that? Remember, because the association makes your profile go up. Does that make sense? All right, so that's impact. The second thing is inspire. How do you move people emotionally? There are multiple ways to do it. One of the best ways to do it is through a story. And ultimately, firstly, through your story. Let me tell you an interesting story about this lady here. Her name is Vivian. And when she came through our programs, she was ultimately, again, well, firstly, she didn't speak English as her first language. That's the first thing that might hold most people back. I don't speak perfect English. You don't need to be perfect. I've got people with lisps. I've got people with who are hard of hearing. I've got people who don't walk. They are wheelchair users. You don't have to be perfect. You have to be yourself, your authentic self. Because that's what sells today. What sells today is not like the millionaire haircut and the Rolex watch. What sells today is authenticity, because that is what people are looking for. They're not looking for the facade anymore. They're looking for not the image of success. They're looking for real success. And by the way, success is not always just money. That's just one version of it. Success can be. So don't think you have to be a millionaire to do this. I certainly wasn't when I started either. You don't have to be that. What you have to be is authentic, and you have to have something where you can help people, genuinely help people. And so this lady, she'd overcome adversity because she became a medical doctor, but it wasn't her dream. Her dream was to be an artist. And it was about how she managed to make the transition, because she had to her family didn't want her to make the change. And so anyways, she came. And 4 weeks later, after being in our university, because at the event itself, I just said to her, look, I'm speaking in Singapore in a few weeks. Would you like to speak alongside me? Because I know she's from Indonesia originally. In fact, she still lived in Indonesia. She actually made the traveling across. And within literally 4 weeks, we got her ready. This is her speaking alongside me, Nick Vujicic, and Les Brown, the great motivational American speaker. 5,500 people in Singapore, and did that blow away experience. So inspire, changing state, stories is the key. The third thing is creating your content itself. How do you actually create your information, your maps, your models, your frameworks? So ultimately, you need to do that. Now, again, this is a great story. This lady here, her name is Ruth. Ruth, she'd been through adversity. Ruth had been in at least 2 very controlling relationships. So she wanted to help people because she got out of them. She didn't want to get other people get in them. She wanted to have people understand what controlling relationships were like. And so she created content around how to overcome fear and make those relationship changes. Because she'd done them. And this is her presenting to an audience of 350 people in London, again, delivering content around how to overcome fear. Now, you've probably overcome fear, haven't you? So could you create content around that? Of course you could, if we can show you how to extract it and turn it into something valuable that other people would love to implement. And this lady did exactly the same. Her name is Rachel. And here's her presenting to over 1,000 people. Again, she was just like you, like everybody else, like believing I can't do this, I'm nobody special. She came through the care system, actually. But as a result of coming through the care system, she got through that and became a valuable member of society. And she's teaching people how they can do exactly the same to become valuable. All right, the 4th element in my framework is how to influence. And this is about how you become fully booked. How do you ultimately get to a situation where people implement not only your advice, but also show up at your web classes, show up, for example, at your events? How do you get those people there? Let me tell you an interesting story. This guy, I love this guy, his name's Paul. This is Paul before joining our academy. This is one of the first events he ran, very small. As you can see, that by the way, that is not the front row. That is indeed the entire audience of 5 people, beg your pardon. But as a result of implementing these ideas, 1 year after attending, you can see here, this is the photograph, him, probably around 60 people there, actually at that event 1 year on, coming to hear him talk. 1 year later, you can now see that event has suddenly got a whole lot bigger, probably 150 people. 3 months after that, around 200 people. 1 month after that, another 200 plus people. Again, all these coming to hear him present around his models and frameworks that he created, in this case, around property. And finally, how do you turn all that into money? It's all very well having those people turn up to your web class, having those people turn up to your events, but they don't buy. Well, then that's not good. So you want to learn how to convert people as well. So again, just using Paul as the example, that's him. And the close he was doing there was, he said if people wanted to buy this, and he was selling something at £2,000, which was an advanced course, I think he was selling, £2,000, he said, come up to the front. So all these people have come up the front. So actually there's about 6 people that are not buying. So if you count the numbers there, 2,000, it's actually quite a lot of money there, isn't it? And there he is again, doing exactly the same thing. All those people coming up, wanting, ready and willing to buy. In fact, actually a recent post from there, look, he says here on this event, he said, our sales so far with a few more to get over the line next week, hopefully £80,500. Imagine that, imagine £80,000 in a day. What would that do to how you feel about yourself? Minus the event cost, 72,000 profit. And this is the best thing of all. He says, look, when I was cleaning toilets, the guy used to clean toilets. In 2010, he was a cleaner. I used to dream about making £100,000 in a year. Then it was a month, then it was a week. And now with the help of Andy and everyone in the PSA, had to make that in a day. So now, imagine that, cleaner, £6 an hour. And now he's doing it. So if that's the case for him, what could be the case for you? How much income are you sitting on, knowledge, know-how, experience, that if you knew the way to extract it and turn it into value, you could productize that, turn it into an event of some kind and get people buying your mentoring, coaching, advising, or whatever it is you want to sell them, whatever it is, but put a presentation together that helps you to sell it. Now, right now, you might be thinking, well, this all sounds very good, but I'm not sure I'm ready for this yet. I'm not enough of an expert. I haven't achieved enough yet. I want to challenge that. Remember, Paul started this and he was a cleaner on £6 an hour. So that can't be true for him. But every one of us has to start at the beginning. Remember, we all have to start in that unknown place, don't we? So remember, you learn to walk before you're ready. You learn to talk before you're ready. So almost certainly you'll learn to do this before you're ready. So a new mantra is you must start before you're ready, because that's how you get ready. And the only reason that you would want my help and advice is just to save time. Look, it's taken me 17 years to figure out the magic formula. So you're not buying me. You're not buying a few days or hours of my time. Does that make sense? You're buying 17 years of my experience distilled down into a bite-sized piece So you save 17 years and get the results that I've got in 17 years, you get them much faster. Does that make sense? Okay, does that make sense to you? All right. So look, you don't have to be a celebrity to begin this. Remember, you don't have to be, look, even Tony Robbins started out as no one. You know, everybody starts out as not known. That's not the issue. Remember, everyone's starting out down the bottom, right? So you're unknown. Okay, you're going to go from unknown to specialist. You're going to go from specialist to authority. You're going to go from authority all the way up to micro celebrity, that you may or may not reach celebrity status. But remember, every one of us has to start out at the bottom. But you can get quickly to the top of that if you follow the advice I'm giving you right now in this web class. The other thing you have to remember is you think, well, you know, what if other people know more than me? Don't compare yourself to someone that's been doing this for 15 years. Compare yourself to your clients. Do you have something to offer them that is of value to them? Do you have something to offer them that could help them? Because if you do, you only have to be a few steps ahead of your clients to help them. Does that make sense? So don't think you've got to be the finished article. You definitely don't. Okay, part 3. How I went from wannabe, and I definitely wanted to be ultimately like Tony Robbins, if you remember. So how I went from wannabe to an in-demand micro celebrity getting paid £1 million plus per year to speak around the world. In fact, in my case now, it's just shy of 5 million. Okay, here's how. Now, remember, my results aren't typical, but ultimately, if you would go ahead and you were to input this advice, there's every chance you could do exactly the same as this. So I want to help you design your presentation that does 2 things: serve people and sell people. So the big mistake that people used to make back in the day is you sell too early. Don't push things on people. Educate people first. If you educate first, that's the serving piece. It's natural for them to want to buy from you. Does that make sense? So in essence, we're turning the sales process into an educational experience now for the client. So we're not going to sell. It's not ask and you shall receive. It's 100% give and you shall receive. And the giving is the giving of valuable content, the giving of valuable knowledge, know-how, and experience that you put together in a presentation form that's either watched online or it's watched on a stage somewhere, or potentially both. Does that make sense? So again, go ahead right now and type yes, yes, yes into the chat box if it all makes sense to you. So if you'd like to help me help you design your talk that serves and sells, let's have a look in a minute about what I can do and how the numbers and the money stacks up for you potentially as well. So go ahead and just yes. Okay, I'm seeing loads of yeses come in. Thank you so much. Just to make sure technology's still working and we're still with you right now. Fantastic. Okay, so this is a signature talk that could turn you into a multi-million pound micro celebrity, as indeed it's done for me. So your signature talk, how does it work? So 1 million a year sounds like a big number. Let's break it down for a second. How much is $1 million a year over the course of, a number of months? Well, over 12 months, it works at £83,333 in a month. So how are you going to make £83,333 in a month? And by the way, you might be happy with 10% of this, right? I'm giving you $1 million because it's achievable. I've done it, and many people I'll show you in a minute are doing it. But even if you just made 10% of this number, it would still be a great start, 100,000, right? Okay, but here we go. So that 83,000 is just 2 presentations per month. That's 2 days' work a month with 70 people only attending. So it's 140 people attending over 2 events. That's 2 events in a month, okay? And in that event, here's what you're going to do. You're going to serve them with your message, and you're going to sell them something. What are you going to sell them? You're going to sell them coaching. You sell them mentoring, or a coaching or mentoring package, a mastermind program, an advanced something, a service that you and or your team will deliver. Does that make sense? And you want to be pricing that at around about £2,000. Now, the mistake almost all businesses make is to undercharge. So they end up doing something at a ridiculous price that can't even be profitable because they're so desperate for the business. But here's the difference. You'll be able to charge £2,000 plus because you'll have social proof on your side. Because you'll have 70 people watching you and having like a bun fight almost at the end to want to work with you. And because obviously you'll have limited amount of time you can work with people, and limiting the numbers, you can charge more. Does that make sense? So 2,000 is your minimum price for the entry level for people to get something from you that's a service, that's your advanced way for them to implement your advice or to engage your services delivered either by you or a member of your team. So 70 people attend for free. You make 10 sales, just 10 sales out of 70 people. That's just under 15% conversion rate. Very, very, very easily achievable when I show you how. And at let's call it 1,997 under the £2,000 banner. That's £19,970 in sales made from one event. Now, obviously, you're doing 2 events a month, like I said. That's £39,940 per month. How does that sound? Does that sound like a good number for you? All you're doing is posting on social media. You are ultimately getting people to see you online. You then ultimately invite them to a free event or a free web class and ultimately upserve and upsell them to a higher price solution later on that I've already began to show you how to create. Does that make sense? Now let's continue the numbers on. Oh, actually, no, he's had a few examples. It's just again to prove the point. So he says, look, here's Blake. He says, so it turns out this stuff actually works. I just closed 8 clients from stage following Andy's system to the letter. 8 people at £6,500 for the 12-month business mastermind means a £52,000 day. So I said make 19,000 in an event, and Blake's just made 52,000 in his first event there. This is Caroline. I just wanted to give an update. I did my event the weekend where I put things to the test. There were 50 attendees, so she didn't have 70, she had 50. 25 which were qualified potential buyers. I'm assuming because some people already bought already, or maybe they were just partners, maybe probably, I suspect. 36% of those people bought her course, totaling £12,500 each. That's pretty good. So she's definitely making her 39,000 there, isn't she? Spencer, okay, so event 1 done. 120 people showed up, so more than 70. 17 purchased at $2,000 sale. $34,000 revenue against cost of $7,000. So more or less, this stuff works. He didn't say stuff, but you get my point. Okay, so the signature talk. Then what about this? If now you've made 20 sales, that's 10 per event times 2 events in a month, you've got 20 sales at 19,997. What if you then offer those 20 people ultimately an advanced solution, which probably is a one-to-one package with you, or maybe a masterminding program, but some high-level elite. Again, we will show you how to craft and create this. And if you just made 4 sales of that out of the 20, then that'll be another £39,998 on top of the £39,000 you've already made from the event that you first did. Here's some more examples. This is Stephen Green. He says, converted 71%. That's 15 people out of the 21 that were at the advanced, that already bought the advanced. 3 people have gone on to the elite package at 7,700. 12 people bought the advanced package at 1,391. He made £40,000 in revenue there. Again, easily achievable, you can see. Sally Lawson, she says, what they say, if you find a way to serve people, the money will come. I agree. Or I also think it's totally true. And my new top sales figure from one presentation is now £264,000 in one single event. So she's definitely made her 39,000 there, hasn't she? And here's Paul again. This is now an update on his previous 80,000. Remember earlier we showed him he made 80,000 from his event. Now he's got those people to come to another event. He's now upsell them to his mastermind program, and how much money he made. Right at the very end there, says, thank you to Andy and all the ACE team coaches, everyone in PSA family for your continued help and support. Wherever you are in your journey, keep pushing. For anyone interested in numbers, our serviceable and the value we provide this weekend was awarded with approximately £250,000. So again, way over his 39,000 that we suggested what you might consider making. But look, even if you just made 10% of these numbers, if you just made 10% of 39,000, you make £3,900 in a month. Again, for most people, that's way over the average salary. Does that make sense? And that's just from the upsell. You made another 39,000 in the previous. What if you only made 10% of that in 3,900? You're making 7,000 a month just for 10% of this. Does it make sense? Again, I don't know your level of expertise. I don't know if you're committed, motivated to do this, or you even implement any of this stuff. But clearly people are, and they're getting some amazing results. So your own events in 1 year, if you follow the advice, would total £959,136 in sales. Now, it's not all profit, obviously. You will have some costs. But remember, you're selling advice. You're not selling a physical widget. So the costs aren't there like they are in a traditional business. So how do you top it over the million? Because I didn't say make a million, and that's not quite a million. Well, here's how you do it. You just guest speak at other people's events. Because once you start doing this and running your own programs, you'll have people want to speak on your stage. You'll be invited to speak at other people's stages. Now, those events might be small in the beginning and similar size to your own of 60, 50, 60, 70 people. But then they get bigger and bigger and bigger. And you start getting promoters promote you as well. So here's an example again. I'm using the same guy, Paul, to demonstrate. So you can see his journey as he moves through. Here's him back in 2017 being invited to a big event alongside some other celebrity type people. Here's Paul being invited to speak at my event, 1,000+ people at the Excel Centre in London. Here's him being invited to speak in Dubai. Again, he was surprised. He was speaking alongside Lisa Nichols of The Secret. And he didn't even know. He went to the conference and this big, huge poster of him. And you can see him there, right there on the left-hand side, which he then posted about because it was just an amazing sort of breakthrough moment, if that makes sense. And there's him actually presenting at the event itself. So how would that feel for you to be promoted around the world, to get other people wanting you to speak at their programs as a keynote speaker? Just think about that for a moment, what it would do for your profile. Getting paid expenses, lie flat beds, being invited to Dubai or Australia or Singapore or Malaysia or the United States or Canada or someone like that speaks English-speaking country. But actually, by the way, I've actually spoken in countries that don't speak English. They have these translations where they put headphones on and you're being constantly translated all the time. It's just amazing. Just imagine what that would be for your life. Here's another example. This guy's called Jessen. Here's Jessen, me, actually, when he came to one of my programs. And here he is, again, his photograph outside a big arena in London, presenting alongside this guy called Gary Vaynerchuk, who you might know is huge on social media as well. And there's him grabbing that selfie. So again, I want to point out to you that you can do this too. I'm nobody special. These people are nobody special. Paul was a cleaner. Jessen himself started out not knowing where he was going, what he was doing. Sally Lawson the same. Samuel Leeds the same. Blake the same. Everybody starts out unknown. What is most important is that this ignites you. It's most important that this is something that interests you. Because if it interests you and you're excited about it, then you're going to learn it. If you learn it, you're going to implement it. If you implement it, it's going to work. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is the most important thing now is not that you're the finished article, not that you're a millionaire already. None of that matters. What matters is your desire. What matters is your hunger. What qualifies you is your life experience. What qualifies you, because this is how the industry has changed. Years ago, it definitely was the person who climbed Mount Everest. It definitely was the person who won the gold medal in the Olympics. They were the speakers. But that is not who's getting hired today. That is not the people making the big money today. It is so-called ordinary people like me and like you that have created extraordinarily or overcome extraordinarily problems in their lives or their businesses, meaning real world problems that people. So you're not going to teach people to climb Mount Everest. You're going to teach them a different mountain to climb. The mountain of how to climb out of debt. The mountain of how to climb out of a failed relationship. The mountain of how to climb out of grief. The mountain of how to climb out of I didn't know how to make sales and now I do. The mountain of how you climbed out of how you didn't know how to use social media, now you do. The mountain of I was afraid, didn't know how to speak on stage, I was frozen, now I'm a celebrity speaker. What is it? What is the mountain that you will design the steps in to help people climb that mountain because you're the guide? In the same way, if you're going to climb Mount Everest, you're not going to do it on your own. You're essentially going to hire a Sherpa who knows the footway. They know the steps like you do. The challenge is right now, you might underplay your role as a mentor because you've never played the role before. And so what I want to do is have you realize how much mentoring advice you have within you. Because once we crystallize your knowledge, know-how, and experience into something tangible, as in your methodology, then you'll realize just how valuable you really are. Does that make sense? At this point, you really have just two options. Option one is you could take what we've taught you today, have a stab at yourself and try to get it working for you. Or option two is, what if we personally help coach and mentor you for the entire process? What if we took an active role in your results and worked with you to help you achieve this for yourself? So let me ask you another question. Would it be okay with you right now if I gave you a possible next step? Would it be okay if I spoke to you right now about what a next possible step is for you? Given where you're at right now, let me know right now if you'd like me to reveal what that possible next step is for you, please. Go ahead and do that now. Again, as always, just type into the chat box, let me know that it's okay for me to tell you what's coming next for you as a potential next step. Okay, yeses are coming through already, so thank you. Yes, Evelyn, thank you, Heidi. Thank you to Broadley. Thank you to Adil. Thank you to Barbara. Thank you to Nigel. Okay, great. There's enough yeses coming in. I'm going to assume the rest of you are going to say yes as well. Okay, so here's what I've got for you. I'm looking for people to train, develop, and promote. So I want you to consider joining me at the Public Speakers University program. This program has transformed the fortunes of thousands of entrepreneurial people just like you over the last few years who recognize in this information content consuming world, the right place to be is on the creating side, not on the consuming side, so that you can drive more business, so you can find more clients to serve and ultimately sell to. But remember, it's serving before selling. It's not asking you shall receive, it's giving and you shall receive. This program is comprehensive, gives you everything you need to start in this industry and drive new business because you have something valuable that other people want to gain and implement into their lives, their body, their businesses, or whatever area of expertise you want to be seen and known as an expert in. So here's what joining Public Speakers University can do for you. How about you discovering how you can go from relatively unknown to micro celebrity in your niche? For me, it's extraordinary to experience people wanting me to sign their book at an event, for people wanting to take a photograph with me, because I just see myself as little old Andy Harrington. I am nobody special. And I always consistently take myself off of the pedestal, but other people will consistently keep putting you on it because it's authenticity that people love. But micro celebrity status gets you to a whole new level of income. Now, to do that, you're going to have to become an authority. To do that, you're going to have to create your methodology that you author and create. And again, inside this program, we're going to show you how to create that. This is enabling also for you to get clients coming to you rather than you go to them. We want you to be oversubscribed. We want you to have people queuing up to do business with you, because when you do that, your price will go up rather than you have to negotiate or drop your price just to get a client. You'll learn how to make £20,000 to £100,000. I know it sounds extraordinary per presentation. Not because you're getting paid as a keynote speaker, not because you've climbed Mount Everest or swum across the Arctic Circle or something like that, but because you have an audience of people in front of you, that you have a solution to their problems and they're willing and ready to give you money to implement your advice that you put together that enables them to solve a problem in their lives, in their body, in their business, or whatever area of expertise you want to be seen and known as an authority in. You'll also be shown how to get invited to speak at other people's events as well, because that will massively accelerate your growth. When I was invited to speak alongside Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, and people like Donald Trump and Bill Clinton, ex-president of the United States, and also people like Steve Wozniak, co-founder of Apple, when all those things happened, it accelerated my career because my positioning went up enormously. Does that make sense? Remember, I started out in little, small events, as you will, but you'll get accelerated growth because it took me 17 years to figure this whole thing out. And I'm giving you the secret formula right now so you can save time and make money more quickly. And also, I want to invite you to become a part of an elite community as well, because one of the things I've discovered is community is everything. Now, I don't want one-shot deals, and nor do you either. You want to build a community of people that cross-communicates with each other so that you aren't seen as the only person adding value. So I'm going to invite you into this very niche community of people that are out there presenting on stage, on camera, on phones, and know that their message hits home, because they recognize in the information age there's no point waiting, because the millennials will take over if you don't, because you have to ultimately get out in front of your business, not hide behind some web page somewhere or just making phone calls and getting appointments in the old slow way of doing things. So here's what we'll be covering on your Speakers University training. Firstly, training module number 1 is presentation skills. Now, by the way, this is going to be an online training, and you'll get access to this immediately in literally just the next few moments when I tell you where to go. Now, ultimately, this presentation skills enables you to have presence and charisma when you're in front of the camera, or indeed on a stage, whether a big group or small group, because what this will enable you to do is get into flow with your message. The biggest mistake everybody has is not being in flow. I want you to be in flow with your message so that you can truly demonstrate your authority, because you have this flow. Because experts don't need to remember what they wrote down, because they're ultimately in flow. A sports person is in flow, because ultimately when you're in flow, when you're in the zone, they might call it, that is when you ultimately demonstrate that you have unconsciously learned how to do something, and you can teach other people how to do it because the skill is unconscious to you. So you've got to learn how to do that. There are 6 core disciplines or elements that you'll learn that enables you to get in flow. Most people think that people are born as natural presenters. Far from it, I can tell you. I was far from the brilliant presenter. My first ever presentation I did ever, when I was working for a company, ended up with me getting black ink all over my forehead because I was messing with a pen. So look, if I can go from that to presenting at the London O2 Arena in front of tens of thousands of people, then you can do exactly the same thing. And I'm an introvert as well, so you can learn how to do this. And this skill is learnable. Now, the way we're going to teach you this is we're going to show you, I'll be doing direct to camera, showing you the techniques, revealing the nuances so you can do the same, and then we'll demonstrate. So we'll break out and show you footage of me and other presenters and speakers doing the same techniques, so you really lock them home so they become natural and unconscious to you when you're performing and presenting as well, because that's a skill that's rare. Loads of people can stand up and present, but it's rare to have someone that has that charisma and ability to be completely in flow and not focusing on the message, but instead focusing on the audience. So stress-free speaker system is your first module. Second, story selling skills. I cannot overestimate the amount of sales and influencing ability you'll have when you learn to implement story skills. Look, years ago, before PowerPoint existed, people shared knowledge and know-how, not through death by PowerPoint, but by sharing stories around a campfire of some kind. Now, the campfire's not there anymore. We've got different ways that we present those stories. You need to understand it, because clearly that the first story you need to develop is your story, the story about why you're doing what you do. This is truly important to get right, because if all you do is classically do presentations but you don't have any stories built in, it's not going to work. We need case study stories, your story, anecdotal stories. All these stories need to be built into your presentation. So we're going to cover that in story selling skills, because ultimately selling through stories is a great way to do it if you don't like selling. So all the hard lifting is done through the story, not through you just browbeating them or trying to coerce them into buying. It's done much more artfully from that. Does that make sense? So we're going to teach you that in story selling skills. You'll love that. It's called the Tri-Summit Storytelling System, because all great stories are subdivided into 3 acts, Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. And whether the story is Shawshank Redemption, Pretty Woman, Dirty Dancing, Lion King, Frozen, whatever it is, I'm going to tell you all stories have the same plot line. If you don't know the plot line, you won't be able to find your story. And if you don't think you have a story, I definitely suggest that after going through this program, you'll have a blockbuster of a story for sure. Module number 3 is when we create your solution. Now, remember I showed you earlier many different methodologies. I showed you of different graphical images of people's frameworks they've created, their methodology of how to get the client from point A to point B. We're going to show you how to do exactly the same. This module will enable you to create the thing that you're selling. Ultimately, your framework is your methodology that your clients will implement to solve a problem, to advance their skills. Whatever it is, this is the key to it. Without this, you're basically just selling your time for money. Without this, you're inconsistent with your results. Without this, you can't even explain clearly what it is that you do. This crystallizes it and gives you something when you stare at it and look at it, you go, wow, that is good. And it builds confidence in you and transmits that confidence to your clients because they understand the map. They understand the journey that they're going to go through with you to get the result that your sales person, sales video, or your sales copy on a website suggests that you can get them. But rather than be static, we're going to turn it into an educational piece instead, entertain them at the same time, and close the deal. Does that make sense? Okay, that's 3 modules. Each of those modules is 497 in value. Next, module number 4 is the Kickstart Content Creator module, which is how you build your content. Now you've got your framework, your unique branded solution, your methodology. We've now got to create some content that goes around it. Otherwise, your presentation will be over too quickly. So you've got to create some depth now. The beauty of this is you'll never have to write out your presentation ever again anywhere. I've never, since I put this together, figured out having to put together my message as a script. I don't want you thinking about words on a page, because if you do, you won't be focusing on the audience. If you have to try and remember your words, you'll self-edit, you'll correct on time, it's wooden, it's horrible, it's awful. And here's why. Because speaking, presenting, natural speaking, conversation is an unconscious skill. You rarely think about what you're going to say before you say it. When you're in passionate conversation with somebody, you don't have to write it out. So if you write it out and then try to remember what you said previously, that's not a natural thing to do. Does that make sense? So there's no point doing that. Anybody who does that is foolish and is going to mess up entirely. There's a much better way of doing things. Now, make no mistake, we're not going to be going completely random here. There's a structure to it, but it's not structured at the level of words. It's ordered and sequenced differently. Now, that sequence is called START. It allows freedom of expression within the message, but there is a structure that keeps you on time, on task, and on topic as well. Does that make sense? We create that, and we've got to design that in such a way that's fit for purpose, so that not only does your message serve, but it also begins to sell as well. Does that make sense? Okay, that's module number 4. Module number 5 is critically important because if you don't do this piece, people will know what to do, but won't do it. You know that's true of many of your previous clients' interactions with people. They know what to do, but they don't do it because there's blockages in the way. Every person has things that ultimately stop them from taking action. If all you do is reveal the steps, but you don't remove the hurdles, they don't take the steps. So you've got to figure out what your audience believes that is currently keeping them stuck in the problem. And then we've got to consistently and deliberately create content that's designed to remove those blockages. And that is amazing because hardly anybody I know knows how to do this. And I haven't seen anybody else teaching it for that matter either. We've got to figure out what it is they believe. So we have to create our message in such a way that it removes those limitations or blockages. Does that make sense? So not only do you become a great content speaker, you become a great motivational speaker as well. And that's included here and as training module number 5. Training module number 6 is where the rubber hits the road. This is where you make the money. Because it's all very well having a great presentation, but it has to make profit as well. So to do that, I'm going to teach you in module 6, the pitch and the grow rich formula. This has enabled me to make tens of millions of pounds over the last few years from simply standing on a stage to an audience, and at the end of it, people rushing to the back of the room to buy what I have to offer, or indeed doing web classes like this in exactly the same way. The strategy is scientific. There is a way to understand the structure of this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to teach the science of it, and I'm going to get you to deliver it artfully. So it's science in creation, it's art in delivery, getting both sides of the equation. One side or the other only won't be enough. You have to have the science backed up with the artful performance. So you've got to do this in such a way that every time you speak on stage, or you have a live camera, or a web class of some kind, you'll be able to structure things in such a way that there is a natural lead into them taking a new action next, which might be opting into a video. It might be registering for a web class. It might be buying something at 2,000. It might be buying something at 34,000. Whatever it is, there is a structure to that and an art in the way that you deliver it. Now, I've been doing this 17 years, so this is a magic sauce, and I'm prepared to give you my magic sauce because I'm going to reveal to you in a moment exactly how you can get involved in this Public Speakers University. Now, having said all of that, which is amazing, by the way, there's one other thing that's very important. Look, distance learning, learning in the comfort of your own home or office or on the move on iPads and phones, all that is available to you. All this, by the way, can be watched on a phone, on an iPad, on the move, on your computer, so you utilize the time wisely. So rather than travel listening to radio, or rather than sit there reading some book, for example, without any kind of action steps thereafter, you can simply turn on your phone, computer, and immediately use that traveling time to double down on your knowledge and know-how. Now, this is also critically important, but there is another step that's important, that is live. Because the only way to truly recognize and hone your talents is to do it live. So I want to invite you to a very special 4-day program, a workshop, if you will. And it's a true workshop. There'll be work involved, not just me doing the work, but you as well. And we're going to keep the numbers truly small, and we're going to shape you because we're going to put you on stage. There's no substitute for stage time when it comes to performance. So we're going to put you live on stage and witness the transformation that takes place over 4 days. So this is called Public Speakers University Live, and you'll do a 4-day course. It's live in London. We have several dates. We run it around every 6 to 8 weeks, so dates aren't an issue. It normally runs on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, almost all the time. So there'll be a date for sure that's right for you. It's taking place in London, typically London Hotel. It could be Heathrow, it could be Gatwick, because we have people flying internationally from all over the world to come to this program. You, of course, if you're in the UK, won't have to travel. Of course, you could be listening from another country as well. But either way, you come to London for a 4-day program, Thursday through Sunday. Now, on that 4-day program, which is exclusively trained by me personally, training you personally, so I'm going to get to meet you personally. We're going to press the flesh, get to know each other, spend some time together, coach and mentor with you. Here's what's going to happen over those 4 days. Firstly, you're going to create even more amazing content, but we're going to hone down the content you started creating already. Now, you don't have to have all the content finished before you come, but it's definitely advisable for you to watch some of the modules before you come so you get accelerated growth while you're there. And on that program, we're going to design your framework. We're going to polish it up. We're going to design your story. We're going to polish it up. We're going to design your content and polish it up. Look at your pitch so you know how to pitch. You're going to have something truly remarkable at the end of it. In fact, you'll leave that program with a presentation ready to go out and start winning you business, both online and on the stage, on the screen of someone's computer or on the screen of their phone. Now, that's important, but there's something else that's even more important, and that is to get feedback. So you're going to present to live audiences throughout the 4 days, and I'm going to provide the live audience for you. So you have a true live audience performance, because I've got to see if any tells, unconscious signs and things that tells us you're not the authority and you're not comfortable. I'm going to iron all out those things. This is why this works, because you've got the online component and the live component, and together these make a magical blend together that almost guarantees you become a micro celebrity when you follow the advice. Now, presenting live on stage also means you need feedback. So what we're going to do is every time you perform on stage, you'll be watched, graded, and given feedback on every single performance. World-class feedback given by a world-class performer themselves. So people you've seen on my screens, they're going to be there. These are people that are part of my program, been through it and gone on to make hundreds of thousands, if not millions from doing it. And they're going to be there to give you the advice to overcome the little idiosyncratic things you're doing that are causing you to lose your presence or your performance. Does that make sense? So this is a really collaborative effort. Now, given that this is the way it is, limited numbers will apply because we can't do this en masse. We don't have rooms big enough, for example, and I don't have enough coaches. Even though I'm going to bring 20 coaches there, that still means that we can't have massive numbers of people. We have to make sure that you are the right kind of person, but more importantly, we've got to keep the amount of training, coaching, and mentoring to a level that the quality of training can indeed still be maintained. The final thing we're going to do is at the end of it, you'll get a certificate, which means you graduate from the university, which ultimately, again, is another string in your bow if you pass the ultimate test, which is passing the test of being good enough to be recognized by the Professional Speakers Academy itself. Public Speakers University Live has a value in of itself of $5,997. Now, if we put all those elements together in this package, the total value of the package is £9,479 UK pounds. But look, here's what I want to do. You won't pay the 9,000 that I charge my elite members to get involved in university. You're not even going to have to invest 7,000 in this. Here's what's going to happen. What if the investment this was just 3,997? What if? Well, if all this training did for you was got you 10% of the 100,000 that I've been talking about already, if all it did get 10%, that would be not 1 million, but 100,000. And now you've seen me show countless examples of other people doing exactly the same thing. If all it did was that, then would it worth the 3,997? Well, of course it would, because 100,000 versus 3,997. Well, that's a massive return on investment, isn't it? Even if you just got 10% of the result that other people have gotten. What if all it did was pay off all your debts, got your mortgage cleared off, and got you to vacate in any particular country you chose to go in, like it did for James Dewan, who you remember was the guy with 180,000 in debt, but now has a business called the Sparks Blueprint, where he has a membership site making 19,000 a month, and he's had workshops on the back of that pay him 60,000 to 70,000 pounds every time he runs one of those, and gets to travel around the world in places like Dubai and also Thailand as well. What if you could do that? Would it worth the 3,997? Probably. And what if it became an international speaker? What if you became an international speaker as a result of that? And you didn't have to pay for vacations anymore, but because your vacations were paid from business expenses as well, would that be worth 3,997 to you? And what if do web classes like this and make money in your comfort of your own home as well? Would it be worth 3,997? For sure, it definitely would be. So look, the truth is, I want even more success stories like the ones I've already shown you here already. That's the reason I put this web class on, because case studies, examples of people I've worked with, these are the best form of advertising you or I could ever have. And for me, that's the beauty of doing the work that I do, feeling that rippling effect of other people whose lives you've touched, businesses you've evolved. That means everything to me, not only on a personal level, but also on a business level as well. So since I'm on the hunt for that, I need to make sure you're the right person for this. Does that make sense? Greg did it. This guy here, look, he was selected and chosen. He's actually from Australia, and he was willing to come over here to learn this stuff. 35 people attended his event. He made 3 sign-ups on a white worth $15,000, 6 sign-ups within the week, $30,000. That's $45,000 he's made there. Now, I guess Australian dollars, so about half that is UK pounds. Immense, amazing, incredible. This is Andrew, also from Australia. He says here, look, there you are, 18,000 he made from one single event. 18,000. And again, not even a big event. Look at the size that the photograph there. We're looking at probably 10, 20, 30 people there in the program. I love this guy. This is Phil Britton. Phil's a survivor of the Bali bombing, but turned his life around. Great keynote speaker, goes out, but not just keynotes, but also serves and sells as well, as I've taught him to do. Here is him speaking alongside Arnold Schwarzenegger, speaking alongside Nick Vujicic, here with Gary Vaynerchuk. Think about the association that comes from that. That's how you become even more of a micro celebrity, by now moving up and becoming associated with other micro celebrities. I'm just a little old me. I'm nobody special. And yet I had the chance to mentor, coach, and work alongside some incredible people, ex-presidents of the United States, etc. Just truly remarkable. I love this lady. Her name is Yasmin. Yasmin wasn't always a wheelchair user, but I love this story because Yasmin, as a result of working with us, has a business called diversematters.org. And what she does, she gets paid to go out to organizations and teach them how to better incorporate disability into the workplace, such that not only are they doing the things they should be doing, but more importantly, the disabled people, visible and non-visible, are getting the recognition and the rewards that they deserve for their expertise. And this is Gemma. Gemma came to my trainings and literally within a few months is presenting here at one of my live events because, again, I want to showcase the best people at my own programs as well. In fact, this lady spoke at that program 11 days after attending Public Speakers University live. What if I could do exactly the same for you? I'm hunting, I'm looking, I'm asking, are you the next best case story for me? Are you the next best undiscovered talent? Have you got talent, latent talent, knowledge, know-how? Have you got something about you that's not truly being manifested? How much value are you sitting on? If that is you, I'm hunting and looking for you now. This is your biggest opportunity so that you can not continue to be the best discovered person in the world, but actually become that discovered person. Because I don't want you to be undiscovered. Too many people out there, I think, have great knowledge, know-how, and they're not being discovered. Not because they're not great and brilliant, but just because they didn't know how to find the way to get to that audience. Today, you need to build an audience. Forget building your email list. Forget building anything else. You're building an audience of raving fans, people that love your work, that love what you do, that will talk about you. That's it. That is what we're doing, helping you build an audience for the rest of your business or indeed life career. So I want you to be next. Are you my next best case study? Let's find out. So here's what I'm going to do. If you're the right person, I'm not going to charge you $3,997 for this. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do something else quite extraordinary instead. But here's what. First, I am going to give you a ridiculously affordable opportunity for this. I mean, ridiculously affordable. For sure, you'll be able to afford this. But before I do that, I have to also first filter to find out if you are the right person for me to invest in you, if that makes sense. So the investment is going to be way less than a cup of coffee per day for sure, but you need to be the right person for this. So here's the news. If you wanted to give me money right now, I can't take it because it's not about just taking the investment. That's not what this is about. This is about me finding the right person that we can co-invest in, if that makes sense. Now, whilst there's investment to be made, you cannot make that investment unless you're the right person for us. Does that make sense? So I'm not going to find this out right now through this web class. So instead, here's what's going to happen. In order for you to qualify for us, because I don't just work with anyone, I would like you to take part in a call. So I'm going to set up a situation where we have a, say, 45-minute strategy call with you to ascertain if you're the right person. And by the right person, what I want to find out is am I absolutely 100% convinced as a result of this call that we can help you make the money that we know that we can make? We've got to figure out, firstly, are you coachable? Do you have a business? Do you have an idea about what the audience is going to be? Do you know the area that you want to go down? Or can we talk to you and find that in this conversation so we know there's a business opportunity there for you to explore, for you to step into and start making money from? Does that make sense? So I'm not going to find that out here and now. I can't do that by chatting. It's just not enough time. I need to have a proper conversation with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you have a proper conversation with a member of my team. This is a mentor that mentors people. This is someone that does this for a living. All the people you've seen before have all been through this process. They've all spoken to those people and been vetted by them first. This is a professional I'm having you speak to. So I'd like to set that up. Now, this will be a 45-minute call. There's a series of questions we're going to ask you and go through. As a result of that and talking to you, we'll have a feel for it, whether you're the right person. If that's the case, we'll then reveal to you how ridiculously affordable this opportunity is for you. But you need to be someone who's willing to give back to us. So I want your case study. I'm going to do this for you if you're not willing for you to be the next best case study, show on my slides, in my event somewhere, or indeed speak on my stages as an advocate, as an ambassador for what I've done over the last 17 plus years. So if that's you and you'd like the sound of that, all you have to do right now is simply click a button that is appearing somewhere in the chat box, or there could be a button that's appeared maybe at the top of the chat box. In fact, I'm going to get my team to implement that now. So I know my team is listening into this. So if you could type into the chat box, please, some kind of text link for them to go ahead, or there might be a button somewhere they put somewhere at the top of the chat where they're able to. And once they've done that, click that. And what that does, it takes you to a form. There's nothing to invest here. You simply just quickly go through and put all your contact details in and choose a time for you to have that call. So look, please make sure you book a time where you're going to show up to the call on time, because If you don't show up to the call on time, immediately suggests you're not the right person for us. Does that make sense? So book a time. Go ahead, click that, go ahead. And we will come back to you and confirm a time for us to have a conversation with you, 45 minutes or so. You'll enjoy the experience of the call anyway. Even if you don't go ahead, even if we don't go ahead with this call, this will be a valuable experience for you anyway during this call alone. In itself, it has massive value. So if you'd like to do that, please go ahead and book that now. Now, we have a quota of how many people that we're able to take in at this influx in this particular moment in time. Once that quota is full, we will no longer be taking anybody at this time. So if you'd like to take this opportunity, I need you to go ahead and click through now to book yourself into one of those appointments, please. Again, we will confirm that appointment to you. And when you have the appointment, please show up on time to that appointment, because this call is a very important step. If you miss it and don't take the call, then we're probably not necessarily going to be doing business with you anyway and have you be involved in the university. Now, I'm not quite done yet, because something else I'm going to reveal to you as well. So if you're successful, if you book the call right now and having gone to that call and turned up on time, you are accepted into the university, you will also get a lot of additional things as well. In fact, 3 extra things that you'll find extraordinarily valuable and also very helpful in making sure your results remain consistent over time as well. The first of those is I want to invite you to a completely different event called Power to Achieve. This is a 3-day program. It's designed to help your mindset and get rid of any blockages that are preventing you from being the micro celebrity in your niche. If you've got a number on your head of how much money you're worth and that number isn't high enough, you're going to limit your success. So we're going to change that number. We're going to look at your financial blueprint. We're going to improve it. We're going to get rid of all blockages. That's something to do with your personal past, something that would be holding you back, old beliefs that are hanging on, relationships that are not properly healed. We're going to deal with all of that, because I'm telling you this, when you get involved in this world and you start pushing your message out there and people start having a go at you back because not everyone's going to love you or agree with your message, it presses all those little buttons in you that are there because you've got undealt with stuff in the past. You're going to end up watering down your message, diluting it, trying to get love from everybody, and that's a bad move. Does that make sense? So we're going to solve all of that. You can see all this stuff taking place now. It's a very extraordinary event, high energy, very interactive stuff. It's incredible. I love this program. You're going to benefit from it hugely. Now, I'm going to give you a ticket to that program. I'm going to add that into this package with no additional investment from you. So ultimately, I'm going to give you 2 tickets, one for you, one for a colleague and or family or friend. And both tickets will be VIP tickets as well. So we have general admission tickets, but I'm going to give you a VIP ticket. Now, VIP ticket also means that you will qualify for the VIP party that takes place on one of the evenings as well. So we get to meet each other, socialise personally as well. It's going to be incredible. I think you'll find it truly extraordinary and very transformative in your journey to become that micro celebrity. So that's all included as well. Also, email support. So once you're in this program, you're supported not now, but for life. So anytime you have a question relating to any form of presenting, performing, marketing, anything else, you get our support ongoingly. Sometimes it takes us 48 hours to respond to an email, especially if it's over a weekend, but that support is there for you. Again, all the support details for that will be given to you as soon as you enroll in the package right now. So again, that's amazing, because I can't even put a value on that, but ultimately it's hugely valuable over time. And the last thing that we're going to offer you that's hugely valuable to support you as well is I'm going to have you join our community. So we've got a community of hundreds of people like you doing this and making money. Some people there have been doing it 5 years, some people just starting out. And this is a massive resource for you to connect to people worldwide who are doing this for a living. So you can share your ideas, your concerns, and then people post straight away answers. You get stuck right there. I'm there jumping in as well. You'll find this an amazing resource. I add value to here. I post videos in here. This is incredible. This is your way to stay connected to us in an ongoing way, to talk back to us on a constant basis as well, but also other people in the community as well. You'll find that really valuable. And bear in mind, there are people in this community that run their own events, that are promoters, meeting planners. Again, you'll have the opportunity to see those opportunities as they come up as well. All right, so we put all that together. The total value now has gone to 11,267 UK pounds. But remember, that's not going to be your investment. Remember, I already said to you that the investment would be 3,907. I've already crossed that out and told you it's going to be significantly less than that. It's going to be ridiculously affordable. But I'm not going to stop there because, again, if you go ahead right now and book your place, click the button in the chat roll or indeed the link that's there as well. I'm going to give you 4 fast action bonuses as well. This is only available if you do it now, right now, this moment. By the way, if you leave it too late, it'll be too late anyway, and all the places will be gone because every time we do this, we only open this up a few times a year to do so. When we do that, all places get taken really fast. So you want to do this now, not wait till tomorrow, okay? But if you do it now, fast action bonuses are incredible. This is amazing. So here's what will happen. If you book the call and you're accepted, here's what else you'll get. Firstly, I understand more than anybody how important storytelling is. So I'm going to give you additional advanced training on storytelling. We're going to have you learn how to create the story. We're going to teach you how to deliver your story, teach you how to create anecdotal stories, and teach you how to make them laugh in the story as well, which is really important because stories should be entertaining, not just educational as well. The total value of that package is 2,588, and that is the package about direct to camera, cutaways, other people's examples of stories broken down. Literally, watch this on your iPad, watch it when you're on the train, listen to it on the car without watching the video, because of course you have to have your eyes on the road. On a plane somewhere, you can do all this while you're traveling, building up the repertoire of knowledge and your know-how as you move through the world. So this is incredible. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you that as part of the package. Again, if you would do it, got to do it now. And also, this is amazing, when you're successful, by the way, I consider you successful when you make your first £100,000 in a year. That's my first benchmark of true success. What I'm going to do, as I've done many times before, I'm going to invite you to a celebration dinner at my home. Just you, just me. Could be lunch, could be dinner, we'll decide. And at that lunch stroke dinner, we're going to record your story so we can use it in my marketing, and you can have it as well, for example, to use in yours as well. And I'm then going to actively start promoting you to my community so I can start joint venturing with you, because then when you speak on my stage or you perform, for example, on a webinar we put together of some kind, or indeed just send people to your page, then obviously I can benefit from that and you can benefit from it as well. That's a good win-win. We can have a joint venture business together. So that's a win-win, and that's definitely one you don't want to miss out on. And one final fast action bonus is once you made that first 100,000, I want to put you on a big stage somewhere. So you're going to present with me on stage at one of my events. Now, bear in mind, my events take place in Australia, Singapore, Dubai, all the way throughout Asia, Europe, UK, Ireland, USA, Canada, all the English-speaking countries, and you could potentially be invited to speak at one of those as well. Now, it could be here in London, it could be as far away as Australia. If you are speaking in Australia or somebody else, don't worry. The investment in all the flights, accommodation, and all your expenses will be taken care of as well. Again, all part of the story. We're going to capture it and use it in my marketing because that's a win-win for all of us. And final fast action bonus, number 4, and this is amazing. How would you like me to give you some money? Would you like some money? Please type yes into the chat box if you'd like some money. It's been a while since we interacted, so again, just type yes into the chat box if you like money, please. Yes, 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 please. Oh, wow, there's quite a few yeses coming in. Here we go. Yes. So, okay, so you're there. Fantastic. Of course you like money. So what am I talking about? Look, you can stop typing yeses. That's fine. I get the message. Okay, now look. Here's my Sunday Times best-selling book. Now, this book is retailing at £11.99 or thereabouts in Amazon, Waterstones, W.H. Smith, etc. But I use the book online. I actually give the book away for free online. Reason being, I know that anybody who gets this book and consumes it is very likely to go on to become a Public Speakers University customer. So it's a lead generator. It makes sense for me to do it that way. Because I know the value of somebody who downloads that book. I know the lifetime value. So here's what I'm willing to do for you. I'm willing to let you give away my book to your audience, your Facebook, your Instagram account, whatever you've got, your email list, whatever it is. You can literally, I'll give you the posts to put out, by the way. You post with a link, which we give you uniquely to you. When somebody clicks that link and ends up downloading what is effectively a Sunday Times best-selling audiobook that you advocate anyway, then once they download that book, ultimately, whether within a week, 2 weeks, or a few months, they will be invited to come to Speakers University as I'm inviting you now. And when and if they do that, I'll pay you money. I might as well, because I'm paying Facebook anyway, so instead of it, I'm paying you. So what am I paying you? I'm going to pay you £1,000 commission for every single person who downloads my audiobook through your unique link. And I'm going to limit that to a grand total there. So ultimately, you will be able to make £10,000 in total as the limit. That's 10,000. Now, you think instead of that for a moment, the investment is not going to be 10,000. It's not even going to be 3,997. We already told you it's considerably less than that. Affordable, ridiculously affordable. And you're getting back 10,000 over the next few weeks and months just from recommending a Sunday Times best-selling audiobook by posting on Facebook and Instagram and those places, or LinkedIn for that matter. That's a win-win, isn't it? You can see why I'm doing it, because you're bringing me ultimately new customers and I'm paying you money for doing that work for me. Does that make sense? So this is a no-brainer. So every reason right now to take action and do this, right? Because this sort of stuff doesn't come around in your inbox every single day. So if you're hesitating and thinking about it, please stop doing that. Immediately go and do it, because once we reach our quota, that's it. So I'm looking for fast action people. If you're a hesitator, there's no way you're going to do this. People who do this are what we call early adopters, not late adopters. Late adopters are people who finally get around to doing something where everybody else has already done it. I'm not interested in those people. I'm looking for leading people. I'm looking for people who instinctively know this is right, because I know that's the people that I can help. So if you want to make sales yourself, the first sale is you make in yourself. You invest in you and others will too. So go ahead right now and click the link right now so you can book your strategy call. There is no investment to be made now. You can't throw your money at me. I don't want it. You have to be filtered to find out if you are indeed the perfect match for what we're looking for. So I want you to click that link right now. Go ahead and click the link right now and book yourself into that strategy call before all of the strategy calls are taken and our quota is filled, because you'll kick yourself if you miss this one. So don't think about talking to another partner or whatever. There's no investment you've made anyway. You've got no risk. You have to do this. But please don't book a call unless you're willing to make an investment of some kind. Don't do this unless you're willing to actually truly implement this stuff. Does that make sense? Because you're wasting my time and your time as well. Don't be a tire kicker. If you're genuinely interested, go and do this, because our strategy call will help you find out if you're right for this. Go ahead and do it right now. You'll find an extraordinary amount of value just in the strategy call itself alone. So let's do a quick recap on everything that's included before you go ahead and book that strategy call. So to recap, the total value now of this entire Speakers Unity package is £13,885 UK pounds. It includes all of the modules that you'll get as online straight away. That's the presentation skills module, storytelling skills, creating your solution, building your content, motivating your audience, selling from the stage, plus Public Speaker University live 4-day program exclusive with me and my world-class team of people to shape and hone you, get you on live stages, give you feedback, plus 3 additional bonuses, which is 1 first place at my Power to Achieve event, 2 tickets, 2 VIP tickets, valued at £794 times 2. Then you've got personal email support for life, private Facebook support group, and then if you take action now and book the place, for sure, you're also getting storytelling secrets, dinner with me, speaking on my stage, and the partnership program worth £10,000. Now, remember the value is £13,895. I said to you, would it be worth £3,997? We proved it was. You're not even investing £3,997. It is way less than that. In fact, way less than a cup of coffee per day. All you need to do right now to see if you're right for this, and I promise you, it's an extraordinary opportunity, but we don't take it on. I don't work with just anybody. That's how I'm going to get extraordinary results, because we filter people first. If you're the right person, you've just found one of the best opportunities you've ever seen, potentially in the last decade, maybe your entire life. This is going to be the next best thing for you, but we need to find out if you're right for us, and indeed, we're right for you. So go ahead right now, click the link in the chat box so that you can go ahead and register for your strategy call, and at the same time, choose a date. We'll come back to you, confirm everything. Please make sure you determine time for that call. The call itself is valuable. There's no cost for the call. There's no charge. There's no charge. There's nothing to invest right now. If you want to do this, there's nothing to do. You've just taken a step to find out if you're the right person for us. Does that make sense? But please do not do this and take a strategy call if you're not serious and that you're not, 80% of the way already there, sort of thing. Make sense? If you're not willing to invest anything, you just want to free something and us work, in all hours God send for nothing. No, But if you're willing to make a reasonable investment, which definitely is affordable, 100% affordable for you, guaranteed, then let's find out if this is right for you. Go ahead right now, click the link or the button somewhere and register for that call. You'll find it extraordinary. But look, this is not for you if you're not going to follow instructions.